This is part 3 of Should the Number 1000 in Revelation chapter 20 be interpreted literally? It's a response to Jim McClarty of Grace Christian Assembly. I'm not going to rehearse all the details of what I've already discussed. I've gone through this, I know, rather quickly. I just don't have time to spend a great deal of time on this. Others have done a great deal of work on Revelation chapter 20. The arguments brought up by Pastor McClarty really aren't that new, and the interpretation that I give it really aren't that new either. But I do want to deal with the issue of the 1,000 here, because it is, in fact, used in the book of Revelation. It has to be dealt with. And to give you some idea here, the premillennialist, someone who believes that Jesus comes before the 1,000-year period, believes that Jesus is going to reign on the earth for 1,000 years, a literal 1,000 years. An amillennialist generally maintains that there is no millennium in Revelation chapter 20, and I agree with that, although I'm not an amillennialist on other grounds, especially dealing with a lot of their hermeneutical model that they use. They see lots of fulfillments just in the church. I don't think that that's the way to go on most of these passages. Postmillennialists, a lot of premillennialists don't know. Many postmillennialists have actually interpreted Revelation 20, the 1,000 in Revelation chapter 20, literally. So premillennialists aren't the only ones who have a handle on a literal interpretation of Revelation chapter 20. But in my mind, the 1,000 Revelation chapter 20 should not be interpreted as a literal 1,000 years. Now, Pastor McClarty makes a very interesting point. He says, let me give you some of these passages that I've used. It says, "For every beast of the forest is mine, the cattle on 1,000 hills. For a day in your courts is better than 1,000 outside. I would rather stand at the threshold of the house of my God than dwell in the tents of wickedness. How could one chase 1,000 and two men put 10,000 to flight unless their rock had sold them and the Lord had given them up? One of your men puts to flight 1,000, for the Lord your God is he who fights for you, just as he promised you." Now, these are the passages that most people who interpret the 1,000 in the book of Revelation, Revelation chapter 20, in a non-literal way, they appeal to those particular passages. When you have 5,000, 10,000, 2,000, 6,000, and so forth, generally you see that those are to be interpreted as round numbers, but fairly literal. But when the word 1,000 is used by itself, unless there is some sort of modifier like 1,000 men or from each tribe and so forth, generally it means probably more than 1,000 or just a big number. And that's generally the way the 1,000 in Revelation 20 has been interpreted. But Pastor McClarty said, but that's only when things are being compared. Something small with something great. A very good point. But he misses the comparison in Revelation chapter 20, verse 4. Let me read it to you and let me see if you can find the comparison here. "And I saw thrones, and they sat upon them, and judgment was given to them. And I saw the souls of those who had been beheaded because of the testimony of Jesus and because of the word of God, and those who had not worshipped the beast or his image, and had not received the mark upon their forehead and upon their hand, and they came to life and reigned with Christ for 1,000 years." Now, the comparison isn't self-evident in the passage until you recognize that the quotation, that this particular quotation comes from an earlier place in Revelation chapter 6. Go back to Revelation chapter 6, verse 9. "And when he broke the fifth seal, I saw underneath the altar the souls of those who had been slain because of the word of God and because of the testimony which they had maintained." Let me go back to Revelation 20, verse 4. "And I saw the souls of those who had been beheaded because of the testimony of Jesus and because of the word of God, and those who had not worshipped the beast or his image." So this is talking about the same group. "And they cried out with a loud voice, saying, How long, O Lord, holy and true, wilt thou refrain from judging and avenging our blood on those who dwell on the earth? And there was given to each of them a white robe, and they were told that they should rest for a little while longer, until the number of their fellow servants and their brethren who were to be killed, even as they had been, should be completed also. So these martyrs, these are the ones who had been beheaded, and there will be others who will be beheaded because of the beastly elements found later in the book of Revelation, and had been beheaded because of the testimony of Jesus and because of the Word of God, and those who had not worshipped the beast or his image. And so what's being compared here is the short amount of time that those who are under the altar, the short amount of time for those who are under the altar, who have to remain in this condition and don't see their vindication, as compared to the 1,000-year reign that they're going to have with Jesus. Because the only ones who are reigning here in Revelation chapter 20 are those, in fact, who were beheaded. So the comparison is here with those who were martyred because of the testimony that they held, and the little while that they have to wait until the judgment is going to be meted out, and the 1,000 years that they are going to reign with Christ. There's the comparison. It's a short amount of time over against a long period of time. And so, based upon Pastor McClarty's own exegesis of this idea of comparison, it's no problem at all in seeing Revelation chapter 20, the 1,000 years there, as being a symbolic number, representing either a period of great quality or a period of an extended period of time, as compared to the time that they're under the altar, having to undergo this wait for this judgment for the vindication of their martyrdom. There are lots of other things I'd like to get into with Revelation chapter 20. I just don't have the time to do it. I've only really listened to the first half of his presentation. The next couple of days, I'll try to listen to listen to the rest of it, see if he says anything else. But I appreciate Pastor McClarty's presentation. It's untypical of so much that's out there. He does it in a reasoned and calm way. He actually throws a couple of compliments my way, saying that he appreciates the work I've done. He even tells people to go, and there are other things on my site that that they can look at. So I do appreciate that, and that is one of the main reasons why I'm responding, because I think his arguments were good. I think they raise some interesting questions, although I still don't think he has a basis for maintaining the premillennial view based upon just the time indicators in the book of Revelation, the gap you have to put between the 69th and the 70th week, and the fact in Revelation chapter 20 a comparison is being made between the little while that those who are martyred are under the altar in Revelation chapter 6 and the long amount of time, the 1,000 years, that are extended them to reign with Christ.
Gary DeMar and American Vision are excited to present this year's Worldview Super Conference in Marietta, Georgia, this July 21st through 24th. For more information, visit conference.americanvision.org. That's conference.americanvision.org.